Hello and welcome back to another Pursuit Network online video. I am really lucky today to be joined by Jemimah Paine, who is a worship leader based, I think, in London, southeast of the country, but originally from Guernsey, which is quite exciting, and hopefully, I believe, moving to the southwest soon. Yeah. So, Jemimah, tell us all about yourself.
Hello, thank you so much for having me on here. It's really exciting and I'm really grateful. I am originally a Guernsey girl. Moved over here about 10 years ago, moved over to London to do a degree in theology, music and worship. And I graduated from that 7 years ago and have since been working kind of self-employed, doing worship leading, songwriting, a couple of admin jobs, singing, teaching, basically lots of music, and pursuing being a music artist as well, and about to release an album in 2025. It's my third kind of release of different numbers of songs. I'm really excited, and it's a pleasure to be on here and talk to you.
Oh, fantastic. You mentioned that you did a degree in theology and worship. Where did you do that?
Yes, I did that at London School of Theology, which is amazing. Had the best time there. Completely changed my life, really. The pastoral side of things, but also the teaching was amazing. And we just had a ton of practical teaching, but also theological teaching. So it was a really good balance of being in the Bible and in your books, but also singing and leading worship, and then performing songs and doing gigs, and honestly did quite a lot of travel with it, which is amazing, and lots of songwriting too.
Brilliant. I've got a friend, Johnny Bauer, who did the LST course.
Johnny.
You know him? Fantastic.
Yeah, he played on my first EP.
Oh, brilliant. When he said he was doing the course there, I thought, brilliant. I am so jealous. The idea of studying theology and being able to study worship at the same time in that sort of depth. And that's with Geraldine Latty as one of the...
Yeah, she left. She's amazing. She left with her husband to go to America last year. Oh. So they've been ministering in America since, but they are absolutely amazing.
I do have a slight... you have worship leader crushes, as it were, people who you really want to meet and say hi to. Geraldine Latty was one of those people. And there was an occasion where she led worship in Plymouth for a cafe evening we were running. And I thought, I was on the sound desk. I got really excited. I was like, yes, this is going to be my moment to say hey to Geraldine and everything else. And as we were setting up, the sound desk caught fire.
Oh, my word. Okay.
Something in the electric, so I had to run around the church trying to sort of tear off bits that were built into the system, saying, we need to have something in there. What can we do? So it was a fun moment. Not quite the chilled out, hey, Geraldine, that I was hoping for, but hey.
Yeah. Oh,
welcome to the Southwest.
Yeah. She's taught me a lot of things I know with songwriting and worship leading and stuff. She's incredible. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. So what are some of the top tips that you learned whilst you were there?
Ooh.
You can't mention you learned top tips without me pestering you for top tips now.
That's really hard. I feel like I've learned a lot then, but I've also learned a lot in the last few years. Yeah. But one thing I'm a firm believer in is when we're doing worship, we're ministering to the Lord. And so how we honor the Lord with our songs, how we even do a set list of it's less about we've got to have a song of confession, we've got to have an opening song, we've got to have a closing song. It's how can we honor the Lord with our songs? If we just sing one song and sing the chorus, but we know that the Lord is there and we know that we're lifting his name higher, that is the most important thing over having this perfect set list. It's just not about that. It's about loving the Lord. That's why we go to church. We go to church to make a sacrifice of praise and trust that he's there with us as we do it. And so obviously it was really good to learn structures of services and stuff, but actually when you get all the practical stuff out of the way, our heart has to be in the right place. And that was something huge that I learned there, and I've been journeying the last few years.
Yeah, I love that. There is that balance, isn't there, between religion and relationship. Yeah, and the idea that we are in this because we want a relationship with the living God.
Yes.
And religion can sometimes be the structure that helps us to achieve that relationship, helps us to engage with that in a reliable way. Yeah. But we can't let it be the prison that traps us into a certain type of relationship and limits our contact with God. We have to let it be the foundation that frees us.
Yes.
Because relationship is the priority.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's very freeing when you do that, because you know that whatever we're going through, when we worship the Lord, actually he gives us perspective, and when we lift his name higher. There's a spontaneous bit in a worship song from Upper Room in America, and it says something always changes when I bless your name. They're the air gets lighter, my soul gets lighter, because we're looking up to him. We're not looking around us and looking at all the issues of the world. It's not that they disappear, but they but our perspective shifts, because God is with us in our pain. He doesn't necessarily take it away. Sometimes he does, but often the case is he's with us in it because of Jesus, and that's what the example he set was to experience the deepest pain possible. So then when we experience pain, he can be with us in that as well.
I mean, we're going straight into this now, and it feels like I'm jumping into the deep end really, really quickly. But I'm going to say it anyway. As someone who has gone through a breakdown, gone through deep depression over a period of time, and come out the other end, looking at the way the worship songs were worded, it changed everything. It's realizing that I could worship in spirit and in truth. Not having to put a mask on in church, but actually being able to say, actually, here is my full self, here is my honest self. You already know it all because you're God, but I'm offering it all to you back to say, this is all yours to deal with. Help me, partner with me in this. That was a beautiful, beautiful thing for me, that ability to be open and honest with God in worship. So yeah, I do think there was a need to be open and honest and open to what the Spirit is saying as we lead.
Yeah, absolutely. It's that's so important to know. And then God wants us to be real. We don't have to put on any front with the Lord, because if we do, we're then just covering all the things that are actually quite difficult inside of us.
And just to say, for anyone watching in the Southwest, there is St. Mellitus College, who run theology courses, which I'm currently doing myself. I'm currently doing the Masters, and I've got to be honest, I'm hating the pre-reading and the amount of work I've got to do behind the scenes, but the meat that I'm getting as a result, the understanding I've got behind the worship is so much richer as a result. There's also Morelands College offering courses and various other places as well. So if you are thinking, you know what, how do I get involved in meatier theology? Then there are opportunities across the Southwest. Do get in touch and we'll try and put you in touch with the right people if you want to. I try not to do that too much in these sessions, like little promo adverts, but every now and again it's like something happens and you think, there's a little moment here, I'll forget if I don't say it.
Yeah, it's good.
But yeah,
it's really good.
Yeah. So you mentioned also you're a songwriter.
Yes.
Now I love writing songs. I will be honest, the first song I ever wrote was called The Minister Jeff is a Real Cool Guy, which is perhaps not as honouring to as God as perhaps it could have been. But what's it like for you as a songwriter to write and release your own music?
Oh, gosh, I love it. I have been songwriting since I was about 7, so like just over 20 years. My mum's a singer and my dad can write songs quite well. Like he's not like particularly super musical, but he's really good with words. And so I'm grateful that I've kind of got a mix of both of them. But I did songwriting as part of one of my modules for my degree. But before that was like writing lots of songs at home, just about like random things. I think my first song was about a fish swimming in the sea saying hallelujah. Like it was really, really random. But it worked. And then when I was doing my degree, I was thinking I would love to do this more. And so I said to the Lord, like, if I get a good result in one of my modules, I'll carry on, I'll do it. And I did, and so I carried on. And then got involved with some musicians after I finished my degree. And there was a project that I was involved in to write songs based on a theme, so I did that, and I just loved it, and was like, okay, I think I want to kind of try and release this stuff, like, and that's what I really, really wanted to kind of pursue, I guess. And God's just opened lots of doors, and it's songwriting and song releasing and kind of being a music artist is very fun, but it's not cheap. music making is so expensive, but it's really good, and like it's so fun, and the Lord has connected me with some just phenomenally gifted people. My producer Fez is the drummer on Mana Collective, so he's like got like a huge kind of expertise and gifting and songwriting, drumming, producing, everything. And so when I'm with him in the studio, I'm just there like, I can't believe we get to work together, which is amazing. And so he's really helped. We've been writing together for about 4 years. Got put in contact with him over lockdown, and I've learned so much. I learned so much before, but I've learned so much since like meeting him, and he kind of has helped to draw my why out of me and helped kind of me to put it in songs. I've kind of taken lots of songs to him, and then he's like, okay, so why are you saying this thing? Why are you re-saying the thing you've already said? What do you mean by this word? How can we say this word in a different way? And for me, for my songs, I am really passionate to write and release music that is a bit of a bridge for people who know Jesus in their head, based, and then using the music to help them bridge the gap between their head and their heart. That is for me the why of why I do it. And like writing songs about grief, about like being in a really busy city like of London, and being like, how do I do my faith here? God, I have every intention to come and spend time with you, and then I get distracted. Like, what's all that about? And so writing songs which people can be like, oh, I experienced a huge amount of grief last year, and your song has helped me put words to how I feel. And so it's been like an amazing journey, and I'm constantly asking the Lord, what's next? So at the moment I'm working on an album, which I wrote in March this year. But yeah, every day is cool because it like adds lots of inspiration, and everything we go through is really cool to be able to be like, I can write about that. Oh, yeah. So it's a privilege. That was a long way of saying it's a privilege.
Yeah. I mean, you said you wrote an album in March. Now, for me, I tend to write a song every now and again, write it, spend a few months playing with it, fiddling with it, then put it to one side, write another one. I've never sat down and been able to say the words, I wrote an album in March. How did you achieve the entire album in a month?
Yeah, well,
what was the actual process behind the scenes? I'm presuming it was a bit more complicated than just, hey, March, it's done. But yeah.
Well, so it started from 2 years ago when I'd hired out with my producer. We were like, right, let's hire out an Airbnb with a studio. There was a studio conveniently below it, and we were like, right, let's get 4 of us musicians in the same room for 4 days, 2 days writing, 2 days recording, 4 songs like done. Kind of that simple in a way. My first song I wrote with my producer is called Use Me, and we wrote that in about an hour and a half on Zoom because it just came out of a place of just one of my kind of journeys and my prayers with the Lord of like, God, can you use me? What is my kind of faith about? So in March, well, a few years ago, we were like, right, this is one project, but we think there's part 2 coming. So we then started planning and dreaming up part 2. And and then we were like, right, okay, let's get the similar people again to come journey with us, and we're gonna spend 2 days a week for a month writing the album. And so that's what we did. We had about 6 sessions, I think 6 or 7, where I wrote with a guy called Joe Baxter. We literally came with, I didn't really come with anything apart from a few ideas. My producer had come with a few ideas of tracks and stuff, and then it basically flowed out of conversations. So we spent a long time over coffee in the morning. We'd be chatting and catching up, and he's like, oh, you said you were a bit annoyed about this thing that happened in your life, or you said someone asked you about your needs and what you need and how to bravely communicate in conversations that can be quite tricky. Do you want to write about that? And I was like, oh, yeah, okay. And then I was like, I really want to write about how I journeyed that with Jesus and how he met me in that, like, in just kind of harder moments in life. And so we started writing about it. And the first line, I actually can't remember, I have no idea what my first line was. The chorus is basically, give me a reason, or is there a reason why I hide my feelings? Why can't you just see that I'm done being needed for reasons that I see are just for your convenience? You don't know it leaves me staring at the ceiling, my feelings. So it's just all about like why I'm hiding my feelings. But actually with the Lord, I don't need to like hide them. I can be honest. And when I know he's equipping me, and kind of he, as cheesy as it is, he like makes us brave. He gives us courage, and he gives us bravery to have hard conversations and do quite tricky things in life. It kind of just came out of that, and we were like, right, let's write then, let's do it. And Fez works very quickly, and so we literally wrote the song in about a day. But because we had a month to look at all the songs, we like blasted out, and we just had like a ton of focus for like 4 or 5 hours, and we actually got loads done. And then like the next week we'd revisit it for maybe an hour, tweak anything, and then just move on. But during that whole time I'd be listening to them at home thinking, oh, does that word work here? And then I started performing them as well. I did a little live lounge tour in London to just some very kind friends offered me to use their lounges, and I just chucked a load of friends in the same room and was like, right, tickets are £5, come and just enjoy some music. And here's some new stuff that I haven't released yet, and I'm still kind of workshopping. So that was kind of, that's how I wrote an album in March happened.
I think one thing you said then at the end was actually really important. You went out and started testing the songs. I think for me personally, for a long time, when I produced a song and finished a song and released a song in my mind, I thought, I'm now sharing it with people outside of just me. And the moment I share it, it's got to be finished and perfect. And actually, that's not the case. It's our song. We can hold it lightly. we can hold it without being offended if someone says, can you change this or can you change that? And we can work on those songs more effectively, so that in the end you get a better product.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and we have to be willing, even in songwriting. I did like a little songwriting course a few years ago, again online actually in COVID, and I just learned basically got thrown in a load of random groups with people I didn't know from literally all over the world. There's about 100 of us on this course, and you just have to write. But we really learned quickly to hold lightly what you're bringing, because someone else will take it and rip it apart. Well, in your own head they rip it apart, but for them they're like, no, we're working on it. And so you have to be it's quite humbling to be like, I thought this was a really good idea, and someone else was saying it was terrible. Or they wouldn't say that, but they were like, that's cool, what about this? You're like, I know that you basically don't like my idea. But it's really good. It's like we have to hold lots of things lightly, because then you workshop it and you're like, I actually don't like what I've suggested anymore. I thought it was amazing at the time, but actually now I'm like, it doesn't really work. So it's humbling, but it's brilliant.
I think that the most blunt feedback I ever got was that my opening lines of a song were paint by numbers. Everything else, he said, everything else is good, but these 2 lines, I think there's a song I'm releasing hopefully soon, just finishing off at the moment. It starts off, your mercies are new every morning, and the old second line was, your mercies are new every day. The second line said nothing new, nothing extra. It was repeat, copy and paste, change a few words, job done. And the challenge set to me was, well, what can you say anything that's fresh? Because later on you've got some really fresh lines, but can you do anything different here? Can you say something new? And that was a real challenge. And because they said it so bluntly, I had to walk away, had to dig deeper, spend several days wrestling with, but it's so easy to sing right now. But I like it, the fact it's easy to sing, because people don't normally sing my songs, and they're singing this one. And I accepted afterwards. Once we found the gold, I actually can't remember what the second line was. I sang the other one so many times, I've learned that one. I need to relearn my own song now and get it right. Oh, just knocked the own wire. But it's to hold things lightly, I think, is so important, and to trust that when people give you feedback, some of that feedback, yes, it might be wrong, but some of it is really good. It's really solid feedback, and it can help you grow that song to make it better, to improve it, to help you dig deeper and refine what you've got to make it more godly than it was before. Yeah,
totally. So, it's very humbling, and it's interesting, like, how can we say, because it's very easy. I relate to how, when you were saying about kind of when you start writing lines, sometimes it's just a way in. When you start writing a song, we just need a couple of like easy lines as a bit of a door, but then we have to be like, I need to come back to those lines, because what I'm saying, if I've already said it twice, like, what does it actually mean? Like, for example, that's like, okay, what does it mean, God, that your mercies are new every day? How do I say that in a different way? And what does that look like for me? What do I actually think in the morning? Because I wouldn't wake up and be like, okay, God, your mercies are new every day. I'm like, okay, God, thank you that I slept well last night. And then how do I write that into a song? But then it's the whole, like, is it going to be a congregational song? Is it going to be a song to listen to on a commute? Like, where's the audience? So it's like, there's so much to think about with songwriting. But it's wonderful, because there's so many like avenues that songs can be listened to. It's wonderful.
But I think also recognizing your audience is really important. Recognizing that if you start writing a song and think, actually, this is quite complicated, the melodies aren't congregational, perhaps this is a song for performance, this is a song for myself, this is a song that is not going to be sung in a church setting, perhaps. And recognizing that means it's not a bad song, just so you know the audience for your song, because that means you can play with it more. You haven't got to simplify it, you haven't got to try and change it, you can use it for that particular purpose.
Yeah, totally.
When you start writing a song, how quickly do you know the purpose? Do you sort of have the purpose in mind at the start?
Well, that's a good question. I've got so many songs I've written. Half of them I've literally 2 people have heard. My housemates have heard them quite a lot. But then no one else has heard them, because I haven't released them. But then like the album, I've played them to about 150 people already in the last like 6 weeks. But no, like they haven't been released yet. But I've got a gig tonight actually locally, which I'm going to perform them. But it's often I think I sometimes have to just write and then not be held back by too many questions. And so I can just get all my ideas out and then think, okay, so if this is a congregational song, how do I reword this? But like taking the idea, or if it's just a kind of gig song, then how do I remake it into something that's a bit more like easy to listen to.
Nice. I like that. Yeah. And I'm very aware that some of my questions today, it's like in my head, I think I've got an answer. And it's like, I know what I would say to this, but actually it's not about my wisdom right now. It's about finding out what you would say. And so if I lead you anywhere, I apologize in our questioning.
Great.
But you gave this answer I had in my head. It was like hearing my own voice come out that yes, you hold things like, yeah. So that's all good. Yeah. You mentioned that you were moving to the Southwest at some point.
Yes.
Which obviously gets us excited with the Pursue Network because that's where we're based.
Yes.
What had led you to this move?
Well, I've just been feeling like a pull down to the Southwest for about a year and a bit. So summer 2023, my housemate lives in her family live in Devon, and I was singing at Creation Fest, and I was getting the train from Cornwall to Devon, and I think it's the bit near Plymouth actually, where the train is pretty much on the sea, and I was on that bit, and I was like, wow, I love it down here, and just been feeling that pull for since then really. And just a number of conversations I've had this year with different people, I felt like it's confirmed, and feeling like a season shift in a really good way, from where I am at the moment, to where I feel like God is calling me. I love my church so much, and it's going to be really difficult to move, but I feel like what I've learned and what I've picked up over the last few years, that I really want to start sharing, rather than just keep it to myself. And I think being a Guernsey girl as well, I think I need to be by the beach.
We have the best beaches.
We
do have the best beaches.
So I've got a couple of connections down there, and I think just sensing the season shift kind of more than anything really, and God's spoken to me quite specifically about kind of what life could look like down there and what he wants me to do with my singing, which is wonderful. So I'm excited. Yeah.
There was a prophetic word given to the Southwest a while back, which talked about worship and revival starting from the Southwest and flowing out across the country. And it's been really interesting as an observer. Obviously, we want revival straight away, but as an observer, there were so many people who are now moving to the Southwest, yourself included, and positioning themselves in key places across the region, that it's really exciting to see what God might do in the future once this network is created. I always think about the Methodist story of Wesley. And when Wesley received the Holy Spirit for the first time and felt that warm, fuzzy feeling, when he felt that, I always thought that that was the moment for him that started everything. But actually, prior to that moment, he had built this incredible network across the country of connections, of friends, of people who trusted him and respected him. And then he encountered the Holy Spirit in a powerful way, and that flowed out through the network. Wow. And as much as Pursue Network we've used that sort of phrase, Pursue Network, because we're trying to connect people so that we can sort of cheer on each other. What we're also trying to do at the same time is not be all about us. We want it to be about God. We want to see what God is doing in the region, and eventually the Pursue Network won't be needed because God's network will be so strong, the connections in the region will be so strong that who needs a Pursue Network to do that with? It's about us getting out of the way.
Yeah.
And I love that you're part of this as well, that you're coming to the Southwest, you're helping cheer us on and helping contribute to the region. So that's going to be really exciting when you come down.
Yeah, go for a car for me. That's all I need really is a car to get from A to B.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm excited.
Public transport down here isn't the same as London.
No. I'm actually I love London, but I try to run and walk places because it's honestly, being on public transport, sometimes you get some strange things happen on public transport, and you're like, I'd rather just be in the car on my own, or like. Also, car journeys are beautiful. Spent quite a lot of time in the car recently, and just having some amazing conversations with people, and just I mean, you can dump all your stuff in the car and then just choose when you want to go, rather than having to get a train. And I came down to Cornwall a few months ago, and I had to get an Uber in the morning to Paddington because my train was at 6 a.m, so I didn't particularly want to be on my own in the early hours of the morning in London. But the Uber took like a lot longer than anticipated to come, so I was only going to get to the train 3 minutes before it was going to leave, and I know the doors closed 2 minutes before, so I was having a right panic in the car. I was like, Lord, please, and then the train was like 2 minutes delayed, so I was very grateful that I could leg it to the train and get on and not miss it.
Fantastic. It does remind me, again, I'm going into anecdote mode now. This is what I do every now and again. It reminds me of a time I went up to Manchester to lead some worship up there and do some recording for a day, and got there, and the hosts looked at the time when we finished. We finished a bit early. I think you can probably make the earlier train. And they got me in their car, and it was so funny. I'm sat in this car, and they're driving, and they drove faster and they drove faster. And I thought, looked at the thing, 60 miles an hour. I was thinking, this is a 40 mile an hour limit. They're really determined to get rid of me right now. They really want me on that train. And I got there, ran on the train, and it started to move.
Wow.
And it was that sort of tight. But I thought, okay, that's the mentality up here. That's the mentality. That's fine. That's all part of the fun. We'll go with. Yeah. Once on the train, though, it's lovely just to be able to sit and be still again and to relax and to know that actually looking out the window, like you said, you see the beautiful countryside. And the closer you get to Devon, the better it looks.
Oh, it's so beautiful.
Yeah. So beautiful. Do you think your songwriting will change as a result of your moving to the Southwest?
I actually had this conversation the other day, and I was thinking, I can't wait. Well, this is one of my prayers, is to have a lovely view outside wherever I will write, because I think it will. I think the pace of life will be slower, and so I have more time to write. And I think at the moment, just because London, like practically London is expensive, I have 4 jobs, all within the 35-hour week, but part-time jobs allow me to be flexible, and so I can go and minister in different places, and so I'm kind of going from A to B quite quickly and traveling and this, that and the other, and I don't have a lot of time to write, but I'm excited for the slower pace to be like, okay, every Monday morning I'm just going to write whatever comes out or whatever doesn't come out. A few years ago I used to commit every Monday night after work to write, and just even if I played 2 chords and wrote 2 words, I'd still be like, right, that's better than nothing. And so I'd really try to build that up, because songwriting is a muscle. And so I think it will change. I think my head will probably be quite a lot clearer, hopefully. And there'll just be more things to inspire me, and to I just have more time. So I'm really excited for that.
It is said that time is our most precious commodity. It's the one thing that we can't get back. Once we spent it, it's done. And I think recharging is also really important. Just thinking about, you said a minute ago, you're running 4 different jobs. And although, like myself, I'm freelance, I have several different roles and jobs and things that make the money come in. So just thinking about that, how do you ensure that you have time to recharge? How do you ensure that when you're going from job to job, that your mind isn't overwhelmed and that you're actually focused on what you're doing and where you are?
That's a good question. I love John Mark Homer's book, The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry, because in there he challenges us to live from rest and not live for it. And so for me, I try to have slow Monday mornings and Fridays to be a bit more flexible with work. And so I can finish off bits, but then I have quite an intense, when Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And so I don't have on a Sunday night, I don't have to be like, right, I've got to just quick do all the jobs I need to do. I can fully be present on a Sunday. And then, I know that other people do not have this space at all. My housemate's a teacher. She's out at 7 a.m. in the morning, doesn't get back till 7 p.m. So I'm very grateful for this season of life that the Lord has blessed me with. And not everyone has that. But I think at the moment, because I've got it, I try to do that, and just try not. And in London, it's like you try to get an evening in a week rather than try to get out of the house. And I know it's just the pace of London, but even that, I'm just keen to. What I am grateful for is I live 5 minutes walk from church, so I don't have to get in the car. I don't have to quick get a train. I can just walk, and so walking places as well is a way to slow down a bit. And I live quite close to the river, so I love going for a run on the river, and just getting out into the outside and just spending time with the Lord and asking Him, okay, God, what I need you to be the loudest voice and the voice of my day. How do I do that in a busy world and a busy city? And so just trying to put in times where knowing, because some people are more introverted, some people are extroverted. I'm a little bit more of a people person, and so just try to factor in times where I can spend time with people, and we're not going into central London for lots of things. We're kind of going out into the river and walking, just taking things a bit slower. And it's very small things, but literally walking places completely changes your perspective, because you have then time to mentally think about it and prepare, and just being wise of what I say yes and no to. I think I have lots of flexibility, which means I can say yes to a lot of things, and then I get to the month where I've said yes to everything, and then I get overwhelmed. And so trying to be wise of okay, thinking ahead, what will my January mind think when I'm saying yes to all these events? But it's just really tricky. But it's just trying to do everything in partnership with the Lord and asking Him, God, do I say yes or no to this? And not over spiritualizing it, but ask, like, if God can speak so specifically to people in the Bible, he can still do that now. And so, like, wanting to welcome him to every area of my life and not just segregate him into just when I'm reading the Bible, but okay, God, how do I talk today? What kind of mode of transport do you want me to take? You know, like, and how do I partner with you in everything I'm doing? Yeah.
You know, I love that's a great answer. It's a great answer, especially in the southwest where we have much nicer walks than London.
Yes. Oh my word. Yeah.
Yeah. I was a period of time when I was walking to work. I used to be a full-time primary school teacher, and it was a 40-minute walk to get there. And I made a point for a year for 1 day a week at least, so long as the weather was okay, I would walk into work, and the difference it made to me mentally was amazing. Admittedly, it was also probably I couldn't take marking with me, which was always a good thing for teachers to be able to switch off that evening as well and have one evening when I wasn't doing that work. But that switch off time, that walking time, to be able to listen and pause, it was such a big impact. So yeah, I'd highly recommend that to anyone. Yeah, love that.
Yeah,
because that recharging is so important, isn't it?
Totally. Yeah. Because we don't want to make decisions based on being stressed.
No.
We need to make it from a place of like peace with the Lord. And obviously life is stressful and quite difficult, and that is hard. But then even in those moments, it's like, okay, Lord, I actually can't make any decisions today. I've had a really stressful day. So help bring it to my mind again tomorrow or another day when I'm less overwhelmed.
Yeah. In fact, when you said stress, then the word stress triggered a little memory from a thing you said earlier on, that you are also a singing coach, that you help people with their singing. And the reason that reminds me of that is because someone I was talking to recently was saying that they were looking at me going, "Are you quite stressed today?" And I went, "A little bit. Yes, you're holding it in your voice as you're singing." I said, "Oh, help. I'm being told off again by my singing person." What's it like to be a singing coach and to help people to release their real voice?
Oh, I love it so much. So I also did some training in vocal health first aid, which is amazing. Highly recommend it to anyone who's interested. But you're right, we do harbour a lot of tension in our voice. Our voices, I mean, I could go on about it for a long time, but our voice is all muscles. And so if we're stressed, we harbour that and we tighten stuff up. Like our shoulders get tight because we're stressed. So our voice does the same thing. And so it's really important to be relaxed. But then also, then you're more in touch with your body and your mind of how you're like, as a Christian, you're like your spiritual well-being, and with God, and how we can allow the Lord to like speak to us through our singing. So I have students that come in. I had one who was going through quite a lot of grief at the time, but they kept leaving the lesson so much lighter than they walked in. It's almost like they forgot everything, but it's not that they forget, it's just that the focus is on something else. And when we're singing, endorphins are released, and so we feel like more joyful, a bit lighter. And so I literally love singing, teaching. I love bringing out people's voices. Sometimes a lot of people copy what they hear online, rather than I'm like, that's not your voice. Are you American? I don't think so. So why are you saying like Lord? So how do we own our voices, because it's a gift. And if a lot of, especially in Christian circles, we're like, oh no, don't pick me, but oh no, humble, you know, actually, like, we need to own the voice that the Lord has given us and lead with authority. Because if we don't have authority, and as if we're worship leading, we can't lead people in worship if we don't know our sonship and daughtership in the Lord. And that's all involved for me in singing and teaching as well, of how I can help people understand who they are in the Lord as well.
If anyone has watched the Adam Stone video interview we did a few weeks ago, you will have heard him say some exact same terms there. You will have heard him mention your authority as a worship leader. You will have heard him mention being relaxed and speaking in your own voice. He's also a vocal coach as well, and does some things with different people. So yes, the fact that we're having the same message twice, I think, is really, really important, because it means it's the right message to be heard. So yeah, and I know for me, as someone who suffers from acid reflux, my throat is often a challenge, and there are certain days I wake up and think I'm not going to be singing much today because last night wasn't a good night, for whatever reason. And so I've got to be really careful with how I use my voice, how I treat my voice, and how I exercise it. But similarly, as someone who lives by myself and doesn't get to speak very much sometimes, I've got to make sure I warm it up and do those little things to make sure it's working properly for when I'm leading worship. Are there any top tips that you could recommend for vocal warm-ups for people?
A vocal straw. Wait, this is big. It's giant. It's huge. That's amazing.
Yeah, I've got this small, tiny tube that the Devon hospital gave me a while back, The bag that you've got there seems a lot bigger than my small tiny tube.
Yeah, well, the straw is. I'll get it out. The straw is like this. It's huge.
Oh wow.
It's amazing. So what it does is when you get a large, like a pint glass, I guess, and you put about a third of water in it, or maybe
got my squash.
Just, or yeah, squash, and whatever you like, some sort of liquid, probably water because it's good for this exercise. And you sing through the straw. It's a bit of a weird sensation to like start with, but it creates a back pressure and massages your vocal folds. Because often we'll drink water when we're thirsty, but actually that doesn't get to our vocal folds. If we steam that actually helps to humidify what's dry. But a vocal straw is amazing. It like does do an internal massage. It's so good, and all you need to do is just gently sing or blow through it. But I also, if you can do a lip trill, they're amazing. It's basically everything you do. You've got to do it relaxed, but do it well, and it's kind of a mixture of good air, good pressure and airflow. Is all.
So the lip thing is one thing I can't do. I have tried so many times, and I cannot work out the physicality of how to get my lip. They must be able to do it. The thing must be there. I just can't work out.
It helps.
So I can probably do that.
Yeah. So I have lots of students who struggle, actually. It's the and a those two things are really tricky. But you can learn them. YouTube has taught me wonders to teach people of how to do that.
Okay.
So just if you like type into YouTube like how to roll your R's or how to lip trill, then they'll give you some easy hacks.
I shall definitely be looking at that later on. That's going to be my afternoon now, just attempting to do it without spitting everywhere and see what happens. Yeah. Well, thank you so much. Looking at the clock at the moment, I'm very aware that we're close to our finishing time, and we've been there's so much brilliant stuff there that I'm still. You can tell from the way I'm sort of chopping over my own tongue. I'm trying to work out which bit do I highlight, which bit do I say, which bit do I... Because you've talked about songwriting and the skills in that, both for churches and for secular congregations and for non-congregational songs. You've spoken about the joy of rest in worship, the importance of digging deep in theology and the benefits of doing that in your songwriting. You've spoken about vocal health. You've spoken about all sorts of amazing things. It's been really, really, really useful. Thank you so much.
Pleasure. It's been such a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
So until next time, thank you for joining us on the Pursue Network Online, and hopefully you'll join us again soon. Make sure you follow and like and share and all those lovely things. I don't normally say all that, but I'm going to put it in now. Follow, like, share, click the little bell if you're on YouTube, click the little thing if you're on Spotify, whatever it is, wherever you're hearing us, click those things and engage. We'll see you again next time.
Thank you.